Bruce Lee's fist starts about an inch from the man's chest. There is no wind-up, no swing, nothing that looks like a punch at all. Then the man is going backward, off his feet, over a chair, with an expression on his face that suggests he has just been informed of something. People have been arguing about that clip for 60 years. Some watched it and decided they were looking at something supernatural, a hidden energy, a secret the Chinese masters had kept out of Western hands. Others watched it and decided the whole thing was staged, a compliant partner throwing himself backward for the crowd. Both camps talked themselves out of the interesting part, which is that the punch is completely explainable, that the explanation involves no mysticism whatsoever, and that the explanation is considerably more useful to you than either the myth or the accusation. Lee made the technique famous in the West at the Long Beach International Karate Championships in 1964, standing in front of a hall full of black belts who had never seen anything like it. The method itself was not his invention. Short-range power generation belongs to the close-range Chinese systems, Wing Chun among them, which Lee had trained in Hong Kong as a teenager under Yip Man. What he did was take a training principle that lived inside a small closed tradition and put it on a stage, in front of an audience that had no framework for it, and let them make of it what they would. They made a legend of it, which was probably not the goal, but it was certainly the result. The first thing almost everyone gets wrong is where the punch comes from. It does not come from the fist. The fist is the last thing that happens, and by the time the fist is involved, the interesting work is already finished. The punch comes from the floor. Every serious athlete understands this without ever using the word martial arts. A sprinter does not run forward. He pushes backward into the track, and the track sends him. A baseball hitter's power comes off the back foot and up through the hips long before the bat is anywhere near the ball. A boxer who tries to punch with the arm is not a boxer for very long. The chain runs from the ground through the legs into the hips, through the trunk, out to the shoulder, and only then to the hand. Break the sequence anywhere along that line and what you are left with is an arm punch. And arm punches look wonderful in the mirror and quick on video, and they land like a slap. The 1-inch punch exposes all of this with a kind of cruelty, because the hand has almost no visible travel. The audience is denied the explanation they are used to. There is no big swing to point at, no distance for the force to have accumulated in, so the mind reaches for the only remaining answer and comes back with mystery. But the body did move. Go back to the footage and watch Lee rather than his fist. He shifts his mass forward while staying inside contact range. His back foot drives, his hips turn, his shoulder comes through. The whole thing is small and fast and almost invisible, which is exactly the trap, because human attention follows the point of contact and physics does not care where you are looking. Someone did eventually bother to run the numbers. A physics analysis of the footage published by Wired estimated the target moving backward at roughly 1.19 meters per second immediately after contact, which after some reasonable assumptions about the man's mass and the duration of the impact, produces an average force in the region of 694 newtons, about 156 pounds of force. The author was honest that the mass and the contact time were both estimates rather than measurements, and that honesty is worth more than the number, because here is the thing that number tells you. That is real force, and it is not superhuman force. A decent heavyweight generates several times that with a full cross. What makes the demonstration remarkable is not the magnitude, it is the distance it was produced in. And that distinction is exactly where the myth grows, because the setup was doing some of the work too. The man receiving it was standing upright, feet close together, with a high center of mass and a chair behind him. Hit a body like that in the chest and it will tip. It cannot do anything else. The narrow base gives it no way to absorb a horizontal force, and the chair then permits the fall to continue and turns a stagger into a spectacle. None of that means Lee was faking anything. It means a demonstration is designed to demonstrate, and if you do not account for the design, you will draw the wrong conclusion from what you saw, which is not the same as saying the technique is worthless. Short-range power is a real, trainable, measurable thing. It is simply not the thing the movies told you it was. The mechanism has an unglamorous name: force transfer. You press your feet into the ground, and the ground presses back into you with equal force, which is Newton's third law doing the least mystical work in all of physics. Your legs carry that force upward, your hips aim it, your trunk has to be stiff enough at the right instant not to leak it out sideways, and your shoulder and arm deliver whatever has survived the journey. Every joint in that chain is either a conductor or a leak. There is no energy hidden anywhere in the system, and there is no off switch buried in the human sternum. The punch also demolishes the single belief that wrecks more beginners than any other, which is that tension creates power. It does not. If you clench everything before you move, your muscles begin working against one another. The shoulder rides up toward the ear, the arm becomes heavy, and the strike broadcasts its own arrival about a quarter of a second before it gets there. The goal is not to be loose forever. The goal is to carry no useless tension on the way in, and then to become a single connected structure for the instant of contact and no longer. Relax to travel, connect to deliver. Researchers at Imperial College London who studied trained practitioners of the technique reported that the difference did not come down to raw muscular strength at all, but to the timing and coordination of the joints, and to differences in the brain regions associated with that coordination, which is a scientific way of saying that this is a skill and not a gift. You will find the same principle running through a tennis serve, a shot put, a golf swing, a high jump, a hard slap shot. The visible limb is always the last link in the chain, and by the time the crowd sees it move, the power has already traveled up through the floor, through a body that spent the previous half-second organizing itself. Lee built an entire philosophy on top of this. Jeet Kune Do was about directness, adaptability, and cutting away whatever did not serve the movement. And the one-inch punch is that whole philosophy compressed into a single second of footage. Minimal visible motion, deliberate structure, nothing wasted. A demonstration is not a promise about a fight. Real violence does not hold still for you. Distance changes, targets move, balance shifts, and careless practice causes real injuries. The one-inch punch was never about the trick. It reveals that your legs create the force, your balance delivers it, your posture preserves it, and your timing makes it matter. The arm mostly just delivers the invoice. Train properly. Work with a coach. Hit pads and bags. Build from the legs, hips, and trunk. Bruce Lee never escaped the laws of physics. He obeyed them with a precision most people could not see.